In my family, love is a currency, and my parents are the most transactional people I know. Their affection is a direct investment in perceived success, and the returns are measured in bragging rights. My older brother, Ethan, is their blue-chip stock. An investment banker with a corner office and a condo they helped him buy, he yields impressive quarterly returns in the form of parental pride. I, on the other hand, am the struggling penny stock they hold on to out of a sense of familial obligation. My job as a graphic designer for a small nonprofit is, in their eyes, a charming but financially irresponsible hobby. Every family dinner is a shareholder meeting where Ethan's profits are lauded and my losses are scrutinized. Last Sunday, my father spent 10 minutes dissecting Ethan's latest stock portfolio performance, his voice booming with pride. Then, he turned to me, his tone shifting to one of gentle, pitying concern. "Chloe, honey," he said, "I was looking at your car payment. Are you sure you shouldn't be driving something a little more economical? Every dollar counts when you're on a tight budget." My mother chimed in, suggesting a new grocery store that would save me 50 cents on milk. They see my life as a series of small, manageable deficits, a problem to be solved with coupons and condescending advice. They don't know that my tight budget is a carefully constructed illusion. My real job, the one I work on from my laptop before and after my 9 to 5, is where I'm truly alive. A few years ago, what started as a silly interest in cryptocurrency and day trading became a full-blown obsession, and then a quiet goldmine. While they are celebrating Ethan's 8% annual return, I'm executing trades that can surpass my yearly nonprofit salary in a single afternoon. After my father's lecture on my car payment, I went to the bathroom, closed the door, and cashed out, a position on my phone that more than covered the entire value of his luxury sedan. I am the family's greatest asset, hiding in plain sight on their balance sheet as a liability. And the market, I've decided, is about to experience a dramatic correction. This financial scoreboard has been tracking our lives since we were teenagers. I remember the day Ethan got his driver's license. A brand new, deep blue sedan was waiting in the driveway for him, a surprise from my parents. My father gave him a long, proud speech about responsibility, handing him the keys as if it were a coronation. "A man is judged by the car he drives," he'd said, puffing out his chest. It was an investment in the image of the successful son he was programming Ethan to be. 2 years later, when I passed my test, there was no new car. I was given a lecture on the financial burden of insurance and handed the keys to my mom's decade-old, dented station wagon. The message was clear. Ethan's image was an asset worth funding. Mine was an expense to be managed. The disparity only grew wider as we got older. My parents proudly paid for every cent of Ethan's out-of-state business degree, calling it seed money for his future. When he graduated, they co-signed and gifted him the down payment for his first condo, a strategic entry into the property market. His success was a project they were co-managing, a portfolio they took immense pride in. When I chose to study graphic design at a local university, their main reaction was relief at the lower tuition. There were no proud declarations about investing in my passion. After graduation, when I was looking for my first apartment, my father sat me down with a spreadsheet he'd made, outlining how I could afford a tiny studio if I got 2 roommates and never ate out. They weren't setting me up for success. They were teaching me how to manage my predicted failure. For years, I internalized their assessment. I believed I was the less ambitious one, the one who just wasn't as good with money, the one who would always need their pitying advice. I let them see me as the Cinderella of the family, the one tending to her humble life while the golden prince went off to the ball. This is why I never told them about my trading. My success didn't fit their narrative. It was born in a world they didn't understand and grew from a seed they had never watered. Sharing it with them would have felt like giving them a dividend from a company they had refused to invest in. So, I kept my riches a secret, a hidden kingdom built in the shadows of their low expectations. I let them believe I was poor because, in a way, they had made me so. They had just starved the wrong bank account. The catalyst for the turning point arrived, as most family announcements did, via a Sunday evening video call. My parents' faces were beaming with excitement. "Kids," my father announced, "your mother and I are celebrating our 35th wedding anniversary next month, and we've decided to do something truly special. We're renting a villa in Tuscany for a week. The whole family. My brother Ethan whooped in excitement. He and his new fiancée were, of course, included. My parents went on for 10 minutes describing the place. A restored farmhouse with an infinity pool, a private chef, and sweeping views of the Italian countryside. It was the kind of opulent, performative luxury they adored. Then came the moment that changed everything. My father adopted his serious managerial tone. "Now for the finances," he began. "Ethan, your mother and I will be covering the cost for you and Jessica as our anniversary gift. We want you there to celebrate with us." I watched my brother preen, accepting the gift as if it were his birthright. Then, my father's gaze shifted to me on the screen. His expression softened into one of pity and strained generosity. "And Chloe, of course, we would be thrilled for you to join us. We ran the numbers, and your share for the villa and the chef would come to about $7,000. We know it's a stretch, honey, but we wanted to give you the option." And there it was. The perfect, elegant cruelty they had designed. It was an invitation to my own humiliation. They knew I couldn't afford it, or at least the version of me they had in their heads couldn't. This wasn't an offer. It was a public declaration of my financial inferiority, gift-wrapped as an act of inclusion. They expected me to politely decline, full of regret, so they could spend the next month sighing about what a shame it was that poor Chloe couldn't make it, their generosity having been tragically thwarted by my meager finances. In that moment, a decade of resentment and quiet, lonely work coalesced into a single diamond-hard point of clarity. The game they were playing was so obvious, so transparent, and the secret I was holding was the one weapon that could shatter the whole board. My ignored talent hadn't just made me rich, it had made me powerful. And this pathetic, condescending trap was the perfect stage to finally demonstrate that power. A slow smile spread across my face. Their faces on the screen looked confused by my lack of disappointment. "A villa in Tuscany?" I said, my voice as smooth as glass. "That sounds absolutely divine. Thank you so much for organizing it. Please, send me the details. I'll transfer my share tonight." I then added the flourish I couldn't resist. "In fact, I think I'll use some of my airline miles to upgrade to first class. It's been a very, very good year for my portfolio." The silence on their end was deafening. The looks of pity had vanished, replaced by utter, sputtering confusion. The trap had been set, and they had just watched, bewildered, as I stepped over it and headed straight for their king. The game was on. The weeks leading up to the Tuscany trip were a masterclass in my family's psychological dysfunction. My calm acceptance of the $7,000 fee, followed by the casual mention of a first-class upgrade, had thrown their entire universe off its axis. They simply could not compute it. Their reaction was not curiosity, but a frantic and escalating series of interrogations, each designed to force me back into the box of the financially irresponsible Cinderella they needed me to be. My father was the first to fail the test. He called me 2 days after the announcement, his voice a low, concerned rumble. "Chloe, I've been thinking," he began, "and I need you to be honest with me. Are you in some kind of credit card debt? Did you take out a personal loan for this trip? There's no shame in admitting you can't afford it. It's reckless to spend money you don't have just to keep up appearances." I calmly assured him that my finances were perfectly in order. He didn't believe me. His concern quickly curdled into suspicion. "I just don't want to see you getting involved in something shady," he warned. "These online schemes, they're dangerous." His betrayal wasn't just his lack of faith in me, it was his immediate leap to the conclusion that my financial solvency had to be the result of either foolishness or criminality. The possibility of my competence was not even an option for him. Next came my mother, who tried to trivialize my success into non-existence. She cornered me during a visit, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. "So, what's the big secret, honey? Did you win a scratch-off ticket? I won $200 on one once." I tried to explain, in simple terms, what I do. "It's not a game, Mom. It's a form of high-frequency trading based on algorithmic analysis. It's a skill I've developed over several years." She just laughed, patting my hand. "Oh, that's so cute. Your little computer game is finally paying for a treat. Well, good for you. You deserve something nice." Her betrayal was a soft, suffocating blanket of condescension. She refused to acknowledge the intellect, the discipline, the sheer hard work it took. By framing my life's work as a cute hobby, she could safely keep it in a separate, lesser category from Ethan's real job, preserving the family hierarchy. But the most telling failure came from my brother Ethan, the golden boy himself. He ambushed me with a call, his tone that of a seasoned Wall Street veteran dealing with a naive amateur. He peppered me with technical jargon. "So, what's your exposure on this? Are you leveraged? You're setting aside at least 40% for short-term capital gains, right? The wash sale rule can be a real killer if you don't know what you're doing." I answered each of his questions calmly and correctly, even correcting his assumption about a specific tax law. There was a moment of stunned silence on his end. Then, the sneer returned to his voice. "Look, Chloe, a lucky run is not a strategy. Don't get cocky. You're playing in a world you don't understand, and when you lose it all, don't come crying to me." His betrayal was the most profound of all. He could not stand the thought of me succeeding in his world. He had to frame my success as a fluke, a temporary aberration, to protect his own fragile status as the family's financial genius. They had all shown me their cards. They weren't just unsupportive. They were actively rooting for me to fail. And I was more resolved than ever to give them a taste of what my success really looked like. The flight to Italy was a dream. For the first time, I turned left when I boarded a plane, settled into a seat that converted into a bed, and sipped champagne while my family squeezed into their economy seats in the back. I arrived a day before. Them, a small act of self-preservation. When they finally pulled up to the magnificent stone villa the next day, I was already there, sitting by the infinity pool with a book, looking perfectly at home. The look of surprise on their faces was a small, satisfying appetizer for the meal I was about to serve. For the first few hours, a fragile peace held. We toured the stunning property, they unpacked, and my mother commented with a hint of surprise on how rested I looked. The breaking point, the final, intolerable act of petty humiliation, came just before sunset. My father called a family meeting on the grand terrace overlooking the vineyards. My brother Ethan stood beside him, a smug, knowing smirk on his face. "Chloe," my father began, his voice oozing with faux concern, "we are so thrilled you could make it. Now, about the chef we've hired for the week. He offers several dining packages, and we've gone ahead and selected the premium, multi-course experience for us." He paused for effect. "We know that would be a huge expense for you, and we don't want you to feel any pressure. So we did something very thoughtful. We've arranged for the chef to prepare a simpler, more rustic meal for you each night. It's a much more economical option. This way, you can still eat with us, but without breaking your budget." There it was, the ultimate Cinderella maneuver. They had orchestrated a way to literally serve me a lesser meal at their lavish table, a nightly public reminder of my perceived inferiority. It was a caste system created with a menu. My success, my first-class flight, my very presence here on their terms, it had so threatened them that they had to invent a way to put me back in my place as the poor relation, the one who gets the scraps from the feast. They didn't just want to exclude me. They wanted to do it right in front of my face, night after night, and call it kindness. A profound Arctic calm washed over me. This was the moment. This pathetic, cruel little gesture was the perfect opening act for the grand finale I had been planning for weeks. I looked at my father, my mother, my brother, and I saw the smug satisfaction in their eyes. They thought they had won. I gave them the sweetest, most grateful smile I could muster. "Wow," I said, my voice dripping with sincerity. "That is so incredibly thoughtful of you. Thank you for being so considerate." They all visibly relaxed, content in their victory. They had no idea that I had already spoken to the chef that morning. They had no idea that I had not only canceled their premium experience, but that I had hired him, his entire staff, and a Michelin-starred consultant from Florence exclusively for myself for the entire week. Dinner was in 2 hours, and it was going to be spectacular. That evening, I let them go out to the terrace first. I watched from the doorway as they took in the scene. The long marble table was set not for a simple dinner, but for a royal banquet. Dozens of candles flickered. The floral arrangements were breathtaking. And there were formally dressed waiters standing by, along with a sommelier polishing a crystal decanter. My mother gasped with delight. "Oh, Howard," she said to my father, "this premium package is even better than I imagined." My brother Ethan surveyed the scene with the smug satisfaction of a man who believes he is finally receiving his proper due. They took their seats, beaming, ready for the feast to begin. I made my entrance. I had dressed for the occasion in a simple but elegant silk dress. I took my seat at the head of the table, and as if on cue, the head chef appeared. But it wasn't the local man they had hired. This was Chef Antonio Rinaldi, a Michelin-starred legend from Florence who I had hired to consult. He strode directly to my chair, ignoring my family completely. He gave a slight bow. "Signorina Chloe," he said, his voice rich and professional. "Per your instructions, we have prepared the 9-course Taste of Tuscany menu. The sommelier will begin with the 1997 Brunello you selected. We are ready when you are." My father's face was a mask of confusion. "Excuse me," he sputtered, trying to get the chef's attention. "I think there's been a mistake. We are the hosts here. This is our anniversary dinner." Chef Rinaldi did not even look at him. He kept his eyes politely fixed on me. I took the glass of wine the sommelier had just poured for me, swirled it gently, and finally looked at my father. "There's no mistake, Dad," I said, my voice as calm and cool as the evening air. "I thought your idea of a 2-tiered dining experience was inspired. So I took the liberty of buying out your contract with the caterer for the entire week. I've retained Chef Rinaldi and his staff for my own private service." I took a delicate sip of my wine. It was sublime. "But please," I continued, gesturing vaguely with my glass, "don't let me ruin your evening. The kitchen staff was informed about the rustic meal you prearranged for me. I'm sure they can still prepare it for you. Perhaps you can eat on the kitchen patio, or I can have one of the waiters call a taxi to take you to a pizzeria in the village. I hear the margarita is quite good this time of year." The silence that followed was the most satisfying sound I have ever heard. The blood drained from their faces, replaced by a mottled purple rage of pure humiliation. They were trapped. Their grand performance, their ultimate power play, had been hijacked and turned into a spectacular showcase of their own insignificance. They were guests in my experience now, and they had just been uninvited from the main event. I gave a slight nod to the chef. "Please begin." He bowed again, and the waiters moved forward in perfect synchrony to serve the first course of my meal. As my family sat staring at their empty plates, their dream vacation already in ruins. The rest of the week in Tuscany was a masterclass in psychological torment. My family was trapped in paradise, their dream vacation having become a luxurious prison. Every evening I would host a magnificent dinner for myself on the grand terrace. The scents of truffle and rosemary would drift through the villa while they either drove to the village for humbling pizzeria dinners or ate sandwiches in their rooms, the silence between them thick with blame. They tried to leave early, but the villa was paid for and the flights were non-refundable. They were financially stuck in the consequences of their own design. On the last day, I checked out, leaving them behind to navigate their own miserable journey home. I never spoke to them again. It has been a year since Italy. I sold my small apartment, and my nonprofit design life feels like a story about someone else. My portfolio has grown beyond my wildest dreams, but the real wealth I've acquired is freedom. Freedom from their judgment, from their condescending advice, from their toxic, transactional definition of love. I spent the last year traveling the world, this time on my own terms. Last month, I launched a foundation dedicated to providing grants and financial literacy education to young women from low-income backgrounds, a direct and satisfying answer to a lifetime of being told I needed to learn how to budget. I don't know the specifics of what happened to my family, but I know the silence is the answer. A family built on the brittle foundation of finance and favoritism could not survive such a catastrophic loss. Their power dynamic was shattered, and with it, their reason for being. My father lost his power, my mother lost her prize-winning son's image, and my brother lost the one thing he could never get back, his assumed superiority. They were a company that went bankrupt, and its board of directors dissolved. My story isn't about the money. It's about taking the weapon that was used against you and proving you can wield it better than your enemies ever could. It's for anyone who has been measured, weighed, and found wanting on a scale that was never designed for them. Your value is not a number in someone else's ledger. The greatest investment you can ever make is in your own independence. If you've ever had to cash out of a toxic family dynamic to find your true worth, share your story below. Let's build a portfolio of strength together.